Indoor seed starting basics for the home gardener. I have been starting many of my own seeds indoors for about 25 years now.
Not acting natural? No.
A basic list of supplies is potting soil, water, a shovel, seeds, pots, some sort of plastic covering, and a moderately warm location. Your potting soil doesn't need to be something special for seed starting. It just needs to be something that stays a little crumbly even when it gets a little dry, so that it will still be able to be watered well. This is one reason why soil from just out in the yard doesn't work well. It tends to get too hard too quickly when it's dry, and it doesn't allow for good germination for your effort. Before you start planting, you will want to mix enough water with your potting soil so that it's like thick oatmeal. I have been using Happy Frog potting soil for the last couple of years. You will also want some good labeling supplies. I use jumbo craft sticks from Walmart, just a regular marker, and sometimes some masking tape. It is very practical to have some sort of sturdy tray to put your pots in. I've gotten many of mine from territorialseed.com. I have never washed or sterilized my trays and pots from the previous year of gardening. The only thing that I really watch for is spider sacs that I don't want hatching in my greenhouse, or very noticeable seeds like those elm tree seeds that I do not want growing with my plants. Whatever you use for pots, it needs to have some way for the water to drain out the bottom so you don't accidentally drown your seeds or your seedlings. Prepare your pots by filling them with the potting soil, the dampened potting soil, and tamping it down lightly, but don't fill them all the way up to the edge. Stop about a ½ inch to ¼ inch from the top edge so that when you water, there won't be any risk of the water flowing over the top and washing away the seeds. It is good to consider how large your seedling will be when choosing the size of your pot, and that will be strongly indicated by the size of the seed itself. If you have grown anything in the garden before, you know that things like zucchinis, even cucumbers, will get to be large plants rather quickly. So if you do want to start them in pots, you need to start them in larger pots, partly so that the upper growth will also have enough room without getting tall and spindly from crowding. I am planting this tray with a variety of tomato seeds. The rule of thumb for planting depth with any seeds is that you plant them twice the depth of their diameter. But beyond that, there is no special way to get them into the soil. Sometimes I set them on top and cover them with a little extra soil. Sometimes I press them into the soil and pull a little soil over the top of them. Especially with the small seeds, it's helpful to keep your fingers as dry as you can, because otherwise they stick to your fingers and get transferred from here to there without you noticing sometimes. Some seeds do need light to germinate. I've run across that most with flower seeds, so do read your seed packet carefully and know if that's the case. Another reason for choosing an appropriately sized container is that it makes water management easier. You can see that I got right to labeling that first variety of tomatoes that I planted. Taking time to label things is well worth your effort. The sticks that I'm using to label here serve two purposes. For one thing, I will want individual labels for each pot once everything is planted, because as things grow or as I take them out to plant in the garden, I like the labels for each pot. But also in this case, tomatoes tend to sprout on the tall side, and so this will help keep the plastic up off of the little seedlings as they sprout. Once I get the rest of these seeds planted, I will put the whole tray inside a clear plastic garbage bag. The only thing that really matters is that it fits over. I have used large, like 30-gallon plastic bags, but I've also used two 13-gallon plastic bags, one on each end. Both work fine. They don't need to be airtight or anything like that, and you'll probably take them off after about 3 days. I'll go into that more later. If you're planting a tray of seeds where they need light to germinate, I usually use saran wrap right down against the top of the pots. Most of those types of seedlings are very small when they first germinate anyway. I'll show you a photo of that at the end of the video. Once the seeds are planted appropriately, I use a misting setting on my nozzle and I water them in. It helps the soil settle in around the seeds and gives them that last little bit of moisture that will be like spring rains that helps them to germinate. Once they are covered, find a warm spot It can be anything from on top of a dryer, on top of a refrigerator. I happen to have cupboards where some warm water pipes go through, and sometimes just being under the lights in the greenhouse is warm enough. The plastic will keep the seeds moist enough that you don't need to worry about any watering for at least 3 days. But after 3 days, you will start to see some germination with many plants. And here you can see one of the trays that I've covered with Saran Wrap. Going down to the lower level of the grow light stand, you can see some plants that I started over a month ago. They do need to be thinned.